I went to Madrid on vacation once. Just me and my parents during my first summer break from college. The day we went to this big plaza, I don't know why it was important, my mom just loved stuff like that. It was really cloudy. My dad went around grumbling about how it looked like rain, but my mom kept her nose buried in her guidebook, occasionally mumbling broken bits of hastily learned Spanish. I separated from them, trying to find a food vendor. There weren't a lot of other people out there, just a few locals hurrying away from the oncoming clouds. Take your picture? I looked up at the voice. A tiny Spanish man was behind me, holding a camera and grinning widely. His teeth were yellow and his hair was black and greasy. He looked like one of those creeper photographers you see at anime conventions trying to get upskirt photos of the underage girls. But as I was a somewhat strapping 19-year-old dude bro, I assumed he was more like one of those guys at the entrance of Busch Gardens or Six Flags who will try to take a tourist's picture and sell it to them. For an inflated price, of course. Before I could even speak, he had moved a few steps closer. Take your picture, he repeated. Click? Only, because of his accent, it sounded more like Cleeeck. Nah, man. My voice came out crackling slightly. This guy had seriously put me on edge. I cleared my throat and tried again. No, gracias, senor. Take your picture. His voice was louder now, and deeper. Cleeeck. He had moved closer, somehow without me even noticing. His camera was only inches from my face now, and I could hear his breathing. I tried backing up, but hit the small fence that surrounded the statue in the middle of the plaza. Then, I made the mistake of looking into his eyes. The iris was almost non-existent. His pupils were dilated more than I'd ever seen in another human being. And that wasn't the worst part, though. The worst part was that they were pulsing. They seemed to beat in time with his heart, although it was a peculiar rhythm indeed. Take picture? The question sounded more like a demand this time. Cleeeck? Okay. I managed to speak out. His grin grew even wider. It was truly hideous, the teeth more green than I'd originally thought, the lips thin and chapped stretched over his crooked jaw. A faint feeling of nausea began to grow in my stomach. But this time he moved backwards. Again, it was quick and silent. Smile, senor. I somehow managed to summon up a weak grin and do a sort of pose. The camera did indeed make a loud click as he depressed the shutter button, and the flash nearly blinded me. I stood around blinking as he shook the Polaroid that came out in order to rush the development. Dos horas, senor, he said, his smile as big as ever. Sure, I replied, digging in my pocket for the money. I thrust it at him, avoiding his direct gaze. I take picture to scare them away, said the man, as he handed me my Polaroid. They don't like the light flash. I looked around to see who he was talking about. The closest bystanders were at least 20 feet away. Maybe there had been bats or something roosting on the statue that he didn't like? Son? My parents were calling me. Without thinking, I turned around, shoving the Polaroid into my pocket. Son, what are you doing? My dad asked, doing a funny little jog as he came up to me. Just looking for something to eat. Well, your mom made plans for us at a restaurant. Let's go. I went to dinner that night with my family. I changed clothes at the hotel, shoving my shorts back into my suitcase. It wasn't until nearly a week after we had arrived back home that my mother brought my laundry back up to me with a worried expression on her face. What is this? She asked, holding up my shorts in one hand and the crumpled picture in the other. I had completely forgotten about it. Oh, some guy just took my picture. One of those tourist trap things. But who are these people in the picture with you? They look filthy. I felt my heart skip a beat. The temperature in the room seemed to drop by 10 degrees. I held out one shaking hand to my mother as she put the picture in it gently. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I was in the picture, clear as day, smiling and waving awkwardly. But next to me stood 3 women with dark hair. They were less than a foot away from me in the picture. There's no way I wouldn't have noticed them. Their faces were covered in dirt and something red, like blood. They were all smiling.